The battle was over. Prince Elien stood upon the scorched stones of the Weeping Vale, where the Hollow King had fallen. The sky above was quiet now, no longer torn by thunder or the cries of twisted spirits. The sword Elien wielded, Veilshar, still hummed faintly with residual magic, its edge darkened by the death it had dealt. But victory, as he quickly learned, does not mean peace. The Hollow King's body had crumbled into ash, scattered to the winds, leaving no corpse, no crown, no clear proof of death. Whispers began to slither through the court at Eleron, his father's kingdom. Some believed the Hollow King would return, that his soul had fled to darker corners. Others claimed Elien had never truly killed him, that he had only struck down a puppet. Elien returned to Eleron as a hero, but not as a king. His father, King Theron, aged and weary, embraced him. Yet there was distance in his eyes, a flicker of fear perhaps. Elien felt it too. Something had changed in him during the battle. He dreamed in black and silver of a vast, hollow palace beneath the earth. He would wake with cold sweat on his brow and the taste of ash in his mouth. The people praised him. Songs were sung. Banners were raised. But Elien saw the rot behind the celebration. The land did not heal. Crops withered in fields that had once thrived. Wells turned brackish. Nightmares plagued children, and whispers in forgotten tongues were heard beneath the floorboards of old keeps. A sickness hung in the air, one not of body, but of soul. And always, the same phrase echoed from madmen and prophets. The Hollow King was only the key. The gate is still sealed, but not for long. Elien sought answers. He ventured into the catacombs beneath the capital, guided by old records and a map inked in the blood of a mad scribe. There, deep beneath the stone bones of the city, he found the tomb of Ser Nalin the Grey, the last knight to face the Hollow King before Elien. Ser Nalin's sarcophagus was empty. In its place was a circle of symbols, written in Old Valen, a forbidden language. The symbols pulsed with dim light, and as Elien traced them, Veilshar flared in his hand. A voice, cold and distant, whispered, "You wear the crown of a world not yet saved." Shaken, Elien returned to the surface, only to find his father dead, slain in his sleep, the royal sigil carved into his chest in blood. Elien was crowned king the next dawn. His eyes no longer shone with youthful pride, but with wary dread. He took the throne not with joy, but with resolve. Something had been unleashed when he killed the Hollow King. Not an ending. A beginning. On the night of his coronation, the stars vanished from the sky. Ravens fell from the air. The moon turned red. And in the silence, from beyond the Blackreach Mountains, a new sound rose, a song of mourning, sung by voices not born of man. Elien gathered his war council. But few remained. Some had vanished. Others had gone mad. One, his most trusted companion, General Lyra, was found in her quarters, eyes wide with terror, her final words scratched into the stone floor. "He wears many masks." Elien now rides north, toward the lands beyond known maps, toward the ancient ruins of Kefler, where it said the Hollow King was once human, and where the gate the whispers spoke of may still lie sealed. The sword Veilshar grows heavier each day. The weight of kingship is not the crown, but the choices. And Elien knows that what comes next may not be a war of blades, but of wills, of memory, of what makes a man whole, or hollow. The wind over the northern wastes was cruel. It howled like a dying thing, gnashing against stone and skin, stripping the warmth from Elien's bones. Snow lashed sideways across the broken earth as the king and his remaining companions crossed into the forgotten realm of Kefler, a place struck from maps and memory, where even the oldest records ended in silence. Only 4 remained in his company now. Sir Aldric, once the king's shield, now gaunt and haunted. Mirren, a mage scholar from the Aether College, who spoke in riddles and half-truths. Captain Varn, a one-eyed rogue who claimed to have seen the Hollow King once, and lived. And Elien himself, who no longer felt entirely mortal. They had traveled for weeks through wasteland and ruin, guided only by Mirren's deciphering of the symbols found beneath Elrond, symbols that had begun to appear on Elian's own skin when he dreamed. He did not tell the others. He feared what it meant. They arrived at Kethler under a sunless sky. The ancient city was not in ruins. It was frozen, suspended in decay as if time had abandoned it. Towers half fallen. Statues mid-crumble. Doors half opened, never closed. At the heart of the city stood the gate. A massive arch of blackstone, flanked by weeping statues whose faces were worn smooth. The arch pulsed faintly with silver light. Beneath it, a chasm yawned, bottomless, silent, hungry. It was here, Mirren claimed, that the Hollow King had once stood as a man. A king like Elian. A man who sought to close the gate and failed. But as they approached, the ground trembled. And from the shadows of the city they emerged. Not men. Not spirits. Memories, given flesh. Shapes formed from the minds of the dying, filled with despair and the echo of the gate's call. They did not speak. They did not bleed. They remembered, and in doing so, they attacked. Steel met shadow. Fire clashed with silence. Sir Aldrich fell, dragged into the dark. Captain Varn lit the sky with fire and laughter before vanishing beneath a wave of the hollowed. Mirren held the gate back with ancient spells, his voice rising in tongues not spoken in 1,000 years, until the symbols on his skin flared, and he screamed. Elian alone stood before the gate. Veilshar pulsed in his hand, the ancient blade hungering. But not for battle, for truth. And in the gate's light, Elian saw. He saw the Hollow King, not a tyrant but a protector. A man who had tried to seal the darkness with his own soul, binding it inside himself so the world could live free. But time had twisted the seal, turned protector into monster. Not by choice, but by burden. The Hollow King had never been defeated. He had been inherited. Elian dropped to his knees. The symbols on his arms flared. The truth was carved in his blood, his dreams, his very breath. He had not killed the Hollow King. He had become him. And the gate was opening again. From its depths, something vast stirred. Not evil, not in the way mortals understand it, but ancient, indifferent. A presence born before light and memory. A voice echoed, vast and endless. Will you repeat the cycle? Elian looked into the gate. He saw every king before him. Every would-be savior. Every soul who had stood here and chosen wrong. His choice was not to close the gate. His choice was to enter it. To take the burden fully. To do what none before him had done. Not to fight the darkness, but to carry it. To learn its true name. To bind it with understanding instead of fear. And so Elian stepped forward. Into shadow. Into silence. Into legend. There was no light. No sense of falling. No time. Elian passed through the gate not as a man, but as a thought, his body unmade, his mind stretched thin across a sea of shadow and whisper. Here, in this place beyond the world, language failed. What lived within the hollow gate was not evil, not wrath, it was remembrance. A voice came to him. Not from above, nor below, but from within. We are what the world forgets. We are pain without name. We are the broken prayers, the swallowed screams, the truths no history dares to write. Elian floated within a storm of visions, kings and queens long gone, children lost to fire, cities devoured by silence. Not tragedies of war or plague, but of neglect, of the moments the world turned away, left wounds untended, stories untold. This was the heart of the hollow. Not a darkness that destroys. A darkness that remembers what others won't. And now Elian stood in its center. He saw a throne there, carved not from stone, but from memories. Flickering faces, fleeting words, the weight of forgotten generations. It welcomed him. But Elian did not sit. He placed his sword before it. And he spoke. I will not be king of the forgotten. I will be their voice. In that moment something shifted. Not a great battle. Not a flash of power. Just silence. And in that silence, for the first time in an age, the hollow listened. and acknowledged. Elien did not return as a man. He returned as something new. A king of the waking world and the world beneath. Not hollow, whole,